Senator Bull, Senator Mercedes, Senator Vashikidze, Senator Vo.
Here.
I am here. Senator Piscatelli, Senator Underwood, Senator Morris,
Here.
Senator Addy.
He's here. He confirmed it on the chat.
Cool. Senator Vernon,
Here.
Senator Troutman,
Here.
Senator Krepok,
Here.
Senator Bass, Senator Robbins, Senator Freeland, and Senator Guilano.
So.
All right, cool. Let's see, and that is quorum, so we are good to proceed with the meeting. So is there anybody here for public comment? Hearing none, we'll go into the consideration of our first item of legislation, USB 104042, the Student Government Elections Campaign Act. I will share my screen. Let's see, so the author of the legislation is busy at the moment, so I'll go ahead and present it just like as one of the co-sponsors. This bill basically removes several sections of the Joint Code that are just patently unconstitutional. The Constitution grants to the Board of Elections the ability to set their own internal operating procedures. There are basically a few sections of the Joint Code, mainly Chapter 1 of Title 2 and Articles 2 through 4 of Chapter 9 that directly tell the Board of Elections how to run their internal operations. All of those sections are illegal. They just need to be removed from the Joint Code. Are there any questions?
So that's going to take away all of the elements of the Joint Code that deal with elections. Is that correct?
No, it'll only remove just a handful of parts of the Joint Code. So all the parts of the Joint Code that outline the composition of the Board of Elections and the procedure that the Board of Elections follows for hearing cases. And that's because those sections are just unconstitutional. The Board of Elections has to set those policies themselves.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. At this time, are there any motions?
Motion. Discussion.
Second.
Cool, we're in discussion. Any points of discussion? If there are none, are there any motions?
Motion to enter voting procedure.
Second.
All right, hearing no objections, we'll move into voting procedure at my discretion. Since there was no unanimous consent measure, we'll do just a roll call vote. Right. Senator Stevens?
Yes.
Voting yes. Senator Morris?
Yes.
Senator Addy? Senator Vernon?
Yes.
Senator Troutman?
Yes.
Senator Krepok?
Yes.
Senator Guilano?
Yes.
Oh, I see that Senator Piscatelli is here. How do you vote for Senator Piscatelli?
Yes.
Cool. All right, that legislation passes. So we will now move to the next item on the agenda, USB 104. Oh, Senator Vo, I'm sorry, I skipped you. I'll make sure to reflect that. USB 104043, which is the Supreme Court Selections Act. The sponsor of this one got called into a meeting with Bobby just before we started this meeting. So I'll go ahead and present this one as well. Very similar to the last bill in that there are, again, sections of the Joint Code that are just patently unconstitutional. The Constitution leaves it to the Student Supreme Court to set their own policies for the internal regulations of that body. So Title 3, Chapters 3, 7, and 8 of the Joint Code all outline the composition and the rules for how the Supreme Court is to hear cases. These are like basically unconstitutional. The Supreme Court can issue their own rules, and they already have issued their own rules on how the cases are supposed to be handled. So like, this is just dead letter of the joint code that needs to be removed. Are there any questions? If there are none, do I hear any motions?
Motion to
Motion,
enter discussion.
second.
All right, we are in discussion. Are there any points of discussion? If there are none, is there a motion?
Motion to vote by unanimous consent.
Second.
Second.
Okay, hearing no objection, this legislation passes by unanimous consent. And that is the end of the legislation we have to hear. There's only one other item of business, and that is at our last meeting, or sorry, the last full Senate meeting, there was a resolution passed that created a select committee to like oversee the transition to the new financial process that we passed at that meeting. R&J gets one member to sit on that committee. So if you would like to serve on that committee, you can nominate yourself like at this time.
I nominate myself to be a part of the select committee on the financial transition.
Is there anybody else who's interested in the spot? If not, then I will make sure, I'll send you, like, I'll inform like Treasurer Grodzki that you'll be serving on that committee, Senator Delano.
Cool, thank you.
All right, seeing no one else, I'll make sure to let Treasurer Grodzki know after we conclude the meeting. As a couple final announcements, there will be separate meetings, hopefully later this week, to hear the nominations that the executive branch has put forward. They've sent just R&J about 21 nominees, and I think they've sent 40 in total to the Senate. I think that's the rough count. About 7 of those nominees are going to be heard this Friday afternoon. The remaining like 14 are going to be heard at a separate time later this week. If you have any questions about that process, feel free to reach out to me after the meeting. But with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, hearing no
Sorry.
objections, we are adjourned at this time. Thank you all for taking the time. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend.
Andrew, before we close off the meeting, Senator Addy just wanted, if you saw the chat, to record his votes.
I'll make sure to do that.